Hey guys, welcome back to S2TV. I am Stuart Breeding, and I know it's been a while since we've done a video, but both Dr. Tiff and I have been crazy busy. And I am, as of today, 9 weeks out from the USA Powerlifting Nationals. And I wanted to start a video log, one for me to kind of record the process leading up to the meet, and all the intricacies that are going into it, and then to also kind of communicate, talk to you guys a little bit about what I've been doing, how I'm doing it, if you have any interest in it whatsoever. So I've spent the last 10 weeks really doing a lot of prep, getting me ready for this upcoming 9-week cycle. The first thing I started to do, and some of you remember last year, I started to do a cut. I'm going to compete in 74 kilos, so I'll weigh 162.8 on weigh-in day, which is pretty tight for me. I started 10 weeks ago. I was 176 pounds and at 10% body fat, so by no means the leanest I've ever been, but also not a lot of body fat. I think I had 18 total pounds of body fat and 92 pounds of muscle. So we started dialing the food in, and probably took about 3 weeks to get the exact macros that I needed. But once we dialed that in, I've been losing anywhere between a ½ pound and 3/4 of a pound of fat per week for the last 10 weeks. So I'm down to about 165.5 pounds now, and I really haven't lost any muscle tissue, but I'm getting crazy shredded already. And like I say, I'll probably drop another 3 to 4 pounds of fat holding that muscle leading up to the meet. And I'm recording this in between my rest sets today, so I'm going to just kind of chime in every time I get done with a set and talk a little bit more about what I've been doing. So that's some basic information about the nutrition program that I've been running. I don't want to get really specific about the macros that I've been hitting, because some of you out there will listen to it and try to replicate the exact amount of macros that I'm doing. Please don't do that, and I'm not going to get into that kind of detail, because Tiff and I spent a good bit of time. I've actually also included Dr. Joe Klemczewski, who is brilliant, probably one of the smartest guys on the planet regarding nutrition. And as a team, we've gotten to a point where I've got my macros so dialed in, I'm eating absolutely as much as I can while losing about a ½ pound of body fat per week. So walking into the meet, I should not have to get into water manipulation, loss of a ton of glycogen and energy levels. Hopefully when I walk in there, I'll probably be somewhere around 5% body fat, looking more like a bodybuilder that day than a powerlifter. But it can be done, guys. And I look out in the community. If you do a Google or a YouTube weight loss and powerlifting, pretty much all you see are guys talking about water manipulation. And I would argue that if you have the patience and are willing to really get technical with it and be disciplined with your nutrition, you can stay as big as you want. You can keep absolutely all your muscle tissue, lose very little strength. I actually have been accumulating strength as I've been cutting, which most people would say, you can't do, but because it's so dialed in, I've not reduced a lot of carbohydrate, and my workouts are also put in a time of day where, like in the afternoons, I tend to get most of my workouts, building my glycogen stores, going into the workout, pretty loaded with good energy, and then on Saturday morning I'll do a max effort squat deadlift day after a solid breakfast. So that's the food portion of it, and it's pretty detailed. And if you're interested, please send me an email. We'll talk about that. But I'm going to do another set, and then we'll start talking about what I've been doing for training cycles. Okay, guys. So as I said, I'm doing these on my rest breaks here. Today I'm doing speed/volume bench. I'm really trying to accomplish two things. I'm working on power, which is speed. So I'm using accommodating resistance with chains, not bands, for a couple of different reasons. I'm bringing chain a lot more into the next 5 to 6 weeks of my training cycle. I haven't been using them, kind of building up to this. I usually use bands on my speed day, power day, on squat and deadlift day, But I really like the use of chains in the bench press. I feel more stable with it. I have two pretty massive AC separations in both shoulders. Both are from martial arts training, landing upside down from about 6 feet in the air from judo throws. And never got them fixed, so I do a lot of PT on just trying to stabilize. You'll see in my warm-ups I'm doing a lot of stick stretching, stick rotation. I do a lot of scapula retraction, and then I start coming from the inside out, rotator cuff, the old school rotator cuff warm-up. And then I start going into the deltoid, medial raises, front raises, some overhead press, and also including static stretching the psoas, the lower back, because of the bench position. There's a lot of tension in the lower back. You need to have flexible hip flexors. So I'll build a lot of that in. Then I start going into dynamic movements, and I'll do two things in a row, and then I'll do a warm-up set of bench. And I don't show my warm-up sets today. I'll show you my my speed bench with the chains. And right now, today I'm doing 5 sets of 5 with 225, and I'll be accruing 5 pounds a week until I just start running into a wall with that. And then I might add a little bit more chain. It's hard to say where I'll go with that. I don't spend a lot of time talking about percentages. I know for my body what a good working weight is, and like I say, because of the injuries I've sustained, I didn't bench press for 20 years. And then last year, I've obviously, for powerlifting, I have to include it. But for you guys who don't understand what it's like to have 2 AC separations in bench pressing, it's a lot like juggling on a tightrope. So as I am moving into the eccentric phase of that movement, it takes a lot of energy for me to stabilize my shoulders to load that bar symmetrically. And then, of course, to unload it again, but it's much harder to bring it down than it is to press it for me. So taking care of those shoulders has been something, and the bench press is starting to move, but it is by far my worst lift for obvious reasons. So that's kind of what I'm working on speed volume day. Once again, trying to accrue 2 things. I'm trying to work on power, and I'm also trying to increase the amount of volume that I'm working with as time goes by for about the next 6 weeks before we drop it way off and start to taper, working with more weight on maximum effort day, and trying to save a little bit of that for later on in the week. And I'll be right back after this set. Okay guys, so that's a little bit about the day's activity, the programming that I'm working on today. Like I said, I'm going to plug in 5 sets of 5, and this is my first speed day. I'll be accruing about 5 pounds a week as time goes by, hopefully, and kind of monitor that, see how it goes. Once I get done with these, I'll go into some military press and probably do some skull crushers, maybe a little bit of incline press, but I'll work accessory movements. And at the very end of that, I'll do something you don't see done a lot in the powerlifting community, which is I'll do a little circuit of some shoulder and tricep. So just really trying to keep shoulders with as much hypertrophy, keep as much volume in those shoulders without fatiguing or overtraining them, but a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. So I'm going to throw a little bit of bodybuilding type activity at the end. It's a little bit more metabolic. Speaking of metabolic, I've been doing this whole process with as little cardio as possible. There's a couple of days that I will plug in some cardio activity. Monday is my speed volume bench. Tomorrow will be my speed volume leg day. And of course no cardio on those days outside of the warm-up, which I'll work up to a pretty good light sweat, probably about 70% max heart rate kind of thing before I start moving. But once I start the movement, there's no supersetting. I'm specifically just doing that. Take a 3 to 5 minute rest break as I need it, so I can talk to you on the camera. And very different kind of training for those of you who have never done it. And I'm one who loves to superset. I love to do hits, and that's what I've been focusing on for a lot of years. So it's been a big shift, especially trying to lose body fat and not be able to do too much cardiovascular activity, especially the hit, which would have been an easy way to drop weight, but also what ends up happening is when you're putting too much of a mix in there, I'm specifically trying to get stronger. And what we see in a lot of data shows that once we're throwing in too much cardio with too much strength training, they start to compete. You're not going to be great at either one. You'll be good like a CrossFitter, which is awesome, but I'm specifically trying to get stronger. So I don't want any competition there. I just want to get strong right now. So that's kind of the goal of what I'm working on today. Tomorrow, like I said, I'll be doing speed leg day. Friday will be a max effort bench day. And then Saturday will be a max effort squat and deadlift day. On Wednesday, I'll do a recovery sled pull, heart rate about 70% for about 20-30 minutes, and some stretching after that. Thursday, I'll do a core power, which is a class that I do, and it's basically corrective exercise, some core training, and just staying, keeping the body moving, looking for recovery, getting blood in the body parts rather than just sit on my ass for a while. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you derive some benefit from it, and really appreciate you guys staying tuned. And it should be an interesting 9-week process leading up to October 13th. Thank you.